Today, we're going to fundamentally shift how you view aging. Most of us, we've been taught to think of aging kind of like an old car, a machine that's just slowly rusting over time, parts wearing out from friction until they finally just break. But what if that is completely wrong? What if aging is actually, a fascinating software problem? Specifically, a problem of lost information. It begins as confusion inside systems that once knew how to organize themselves. We all know the visible signs of aging, right? The stuff we see in the mirror, changes in the face, stiffer joints, maybe your energy just isn't what it used to be. But way before any of that happens, there is this mysterious, invisible loss of instruction happening deep down at the cellular level. It doesn't begin as a wrinkle. It actually begins as a cell simply forgetting how to do its job. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the loss of the signal. Cellular context fades. To really understand this, we're going to look at a groundbreaking framework from researcher David Sinclair called the information theory of aging. His whole theory argues that aging isn't just about physical damage piling up, it's about the gradual loss of cellular context and coordination. Let's compare the genome and the epigenome. Think of the genome, your DNA, as a super stable digital archive. It's the core text of who you are, and it honestly rarely changes. But the epigenome, that's the reader. It's the flexible, analog information. It decides exactly how that text is actually read out loud. The crazy revelation here is that while your digital DNA archive stays pretty much perfectly intact as you get older, the analog epigenome reading it becomes totally distorted. Let's define what this reader is actually doing. The epigenome is basically a regulatory system. It tells a cell which genes to keep available, which ones to silence, and what identity to preserve. Specialized life absolutely depends on this. It's the precise mechanism that ensures a skin cell remembers to act exactly like a skin cell and doesn't, accidentally start acting like a brain cell. But analog systems degrade over time. Throughout your life, you get these tiny little DNA breaks constantly from everyday stress. Your epigenetic regulators immediately leave their normal post to go fix that damage. But here's the catch. They don't always return precisely to where they started. Over decades, countless tiny imperfect repairs cause the epigenetic landscape to slowly disorganize. Think of it kind of like a scratched CD. The digital data on the disk is perfectly fine, but the analog laser reading it skips. In our cells, this quiet, progressive disorganization is what we call epigenetic drift. Aging becomes a problem of memory. I want to just let that land for a second. We aren't talking about psychological memory here, like forgetting where you left your keys. We're talking about deep biological memory. As this epigenetic drift happens, the cell is quite literally losing its ability to remember what it is, what it's supposed to do, and how to fix itself. Moving right along to Section 2, epigenetic drift and cellular noise, biological memory loss. So how does this cellular amnesia actually play out? Well, it introduces us to transcriptional noise. Basically, inappropriate, irregular, or excessive gene activity that just interferes with the cell's proper function. Let's use a musical analogy because it really helps picture this. Your DNA contains thousands of perfect notes. In a young, healthy cell, the epigenome acts as this masterful conductor, ensuring only the right notes are played smoothly. But as we age and that conductor loses their place, the cellular orchestra starts playing stray notes. Genes that should be quiet suddenly flicker on. It creates this biological static, a chaotic background chatter that just drowns out the cell's clear messaging. When we compare differentiation to X-differentiation, the contrast is huge. Differentiation is what gives young cells their crisp, specialized identity. But age-related drift leads to X-differentiation. And let me be super clear about this. X-differentiation is not some wise return to youthful flexibility where a cell becomes a helpful blank slate again. Not at all. It is pure disorder. The cells just lose their precise instructions and become fundamentally confused. Now, let's zoom out a bit. Section 3, the breakdown of communication. Systemic miscommunication. Cells don't live in isolation, right? So a single confused cell becomes a much bigger problem. Enter the infamous senescent cell. These are damaged cells that refuse to divide, but strangely, they also totally refuse to die and get out of the way. They just stay stuck in this weird biological half-state. They stay metabolically active and constantly broadcast inflammatory signals. They create a highly toxic local environment through something called the senescence-associated secretory phenotype, or SASP. They're essentially biological spam bots, just blasting out localized panic signals. And this triggers a devastating bystander effect. It's a chain reaction. Step 1,
A single cell dysregulates and loses its identity. Step 2, it turns senescent and emits those toxic SASP signals. Step 3, completely healthy neighboring cells hear the panic and overreact to the inflammation. Finally, step 4, local dysfunction turns into a massive systemic burden. This whole sequence proves that aging actually spreads through communication, not like an infection, but like a localized Wi-Fi problem that eventually crashes the entire network.
Which brings us to section 4, aging as context loss. Biology relies on context. This completely changes how we view the decline of the whole body. Biology entirely depends on context. Look at how disruption drives aging. Inflammation is brilliant. It protects you during an acute infection, but it totally destroys tissue when it becomes a chronic, confused signal. Cellular senescence is actually a defense mechanism that prevents cancer temporarily by stopping damaged cells from dividing, but it wrecks whole organs when those cells accumulate over the long term. Stress responses keep you alive in an emergency, but they dramatically accelerate wear and tear when they're left on continuously. Aging isn't just about things breaking. It's about the right biological responses happening at the absolute wrong time or in the wrong place. Okay, let's look at the bright side. Section 5, the hope hidden in information. Recovering lost signals. If all this cellular confusion feels a bit overwhelming, hang on, because this exact framework is what's driving the most exciting breakthroughs in modern science. I want to pose this massive question directly to you. If aging is about information loss, can it be recovered? Think about the ultimate plot twist here. If aging was purely an irreversible mechanical problem, just a rusted-out gear, our only option would be to try and slow down the resting. But if aging is a software problem, well, maybe the software can be debugged. Aging may not be only decay, it may also be disorganization. And the absolutely thrilling reality of disorganization is that in principle, it can be reorganized. In experimental settings right now, scientists are using a process called epigenetic reprogramming. And what they're finding is wild. Old, confused cells might actually still have access to their youthful organizational states. The original perfect genetic blueprint isn't gone. It's literally just buried beneath decades of cellular noise. So the true goal of longevity science isn't necessarily some sci-fi vision of popping a pill for immortality. It's way more elegant than that. It's about reorganizing the system. It's about achieving better information flow, less of that background static, stronger repair rhythms, clear cellular identity, and restoring the coordination between all your biological systems. It's about clearing the static so your genetic code and its context can finally talk to each other clearly again. So I'll leave you with this. If the original biological signal inside you is weakened, but not silent, what happens when we finally clear the static? Your body isn't a machine just rusting away in isolation. It is an incredibly resilient living system fighting to preserve coherence against the pull of disorder. The traces of youth and perfect function might literally still be locked inside your cells right now, just waiting for the right signal to be heard again. Thanks for exploring this with me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.
Thank you for watching. If something in this resonated with you, then you're already closer than you think. If you're ready to go deeper, there's a link below to my book, The Survival Self: How Childhood Adaptation Becomes Adult Identity, and How to Finally Live Beyond It. This isn't theory, it's a framework you can actually use. Tap the link below and step into it.